Hello, and welcome to another Georgia Music Gamers podcast. Can I hear it once from the crowd tonight? I want you guys to give me your best show me your moves impression.
Show me your moves.
That's it? Nobody else wants to contribute?
Wait,
I don't.
wait.
Show me your move.
You're going combo.
Show moves.
You're going combo wombo. Keep up the perfect combo.
Get up and dance.
Hey, why don't you just get up and dance, man?
That's the wrong game, bro. Anyway, welcome to another episode of the Georgia Music Gamers podcast. I am your host, Cyber. It's been a couple weeks since our last show. I think I'm going to reduce this down to twice a month as opposed to once every week, because once every week is too much. I think it'll help keep the show interesting, spicy. I don't know what you guys think. If you care, leave a comment in the video. Let me know. It's kind of difficult, but you know, it's just how it is, bro. Anyway, today's a very special episode. I don't know if you guys heard what's going on, but basically this week has been wonderful for a specific game. Something that's been very special to our hearts.
Poppin' music.
It's new Super Mario Brothers.
It's new Super Mario Brothers. Everybody loves the Bowsette memes. That's what it is, guys. No, actually, I've already spoiled it. It's Dance Dance Revolution. It's the 20th anniversary.
It's actually not Dance Dance Revolution. Zyber is lying to all of you. It is Pump.
20th anniversary. I'm not actually streaming at the moment right now, AJ, because my internet is not good. I am recording though. So happy anniversary to DDR.
Happy birthday.
It's actually so funny. I think it's also Google's birthday. I didn't realize Google and DDR were so close to each other in the amount of years.
Yesterday was DDR, today is Google, tomorrow is Poppin'.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
But anyway, I figured a lot of us started with DDR. I mean, I'm not gonna say everybody did, but a good portion of the people who play music games nowadays, I think it's safe to say that their first exposure to music games was through DDR, at least in America anyway. And I figured it would be nice to do a retrospective DDR thing. A lot of people were posting posts on Facebook and social media talking about their first time playing DDR and how they made friends and all this other stuff. So I thought it would be kind of interesting. We got some stories from the crowd talking about, their favorite moments with the games or maybe a funny story. We kind of did this before with some arcade horror stories. So if you want to tell a horror story, that's probably fine. But at least for today, if you want to keep it somewhat sentimental, that's okay. You can talk about how DDR changed your life, if it did in any way, how it molded you as a person today. I think most of us here appreciate music games in some way. Otherwise, I don't think we'd be in the Georgia Music Gamers Discord. So, but anyway, if you guys want to contribute, I'll just go down the list. I'll call your name out. You can say something. If you don't want to, that's fine too. And I think give everybody about 5 minutes. And if you want to interject and say, "Oh yeah, I remember that," or talk about yes, this is a music game podcast. And talk about interesting things, whatever. Talk about recent accomplishments, whatever you want to do. It's fine. A lot of people talk about. Actually, one guy told a pretty good story about losing weight, which I thought was pretty inspiring. So if you have something cool like that you want to share, go for it. So without further ado, let's let's get the very aptly named Pump Toaster over here.
No, do not start with me.
That's fine. Okay. Well, we can go to AJ. AJ, you have any cool DDR stories? Oh, that's right. He said he was going to be away, didn't he? He says, "Give me 5."
Give him 5 minutes.
Well, I know for a fact that Anime Bay, aka Pi, said she has not played DDR.
I mean, I technically have in the form of DDRS, but that doesn't really count.
Hey, I think that's actually a very interesting first dance game story, so you might as well tell it.
Well, it wasn't really a story. I just had it on my mom's phone back when the iPhone 4 was still relevant. You know, good times, good times. And I also sucked at it, and that's the story. I think my sister installed it. That's it.
How old were
Lit.
you?
Like, fuck. When was DDRS?
Okay. I don't know. Let's check.
a phone.
I'm googling
Wow,
it
I was
now.
only like 7.
DDRS came out in 2009 in Japan. Actually, it actually came out in 2009 in America too.
But I think I might have played S Plus.
So just for people who don't know, DDRS was like Konami's first time. Well, I'm not gonna say it's their first time putting a game on a mobile device because they actually did that before. But this was like a dance game specifically made for like iPhone. And I think it was they had a fair amount of support for this thing, didn't they? Like they actually made a lot of charts and stuff, which I thought was kind of surprising. Did anybody play this game for any lengthy amount of time?
I remember sideloading all the DLC to my iTouch.
Okay.
I never heard of it till years after it shut down.
Yeah, they actually got Jesus, they got 219 songs on this thing. It's crazy. Yeah, it was pretty. I mean, graphically it was interesting. I don't think it played very well though, if I remember correctly, since it was touch based. There was a healthy amount of lag on it. But anyway, all right. Well, thanks for sharing. That's cool. All right, Argent, do you want to talk about your DDR story?
Is my microphone transmitting correctly?
It is. I can hear myself in there, so I'm assuming I'm coming through your speaker or something.
I'm going through the phone right now.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah, well, go for it.
there's no quality here. But yeah, there's not much of a huge story like it. Basically, first started whenever I was 8 or 7 or so. Mother happened to bring me over to the mall over in, I think it was in Mississippi, actually. Went to the mall over there. We happened to find the package of DDR Max for the console for the PlayStation 2. Then just brought it back home. Played I Like to Move It, Healing Vision, all the good songs there. I think, and there's a photo my father took of me just a long time ago. Actually, midair shots for me jumping on one of the soft. It was a pretty great time, but yeah, after that, just kind of dropped off from there. Went on a big hiatus from then for like till like 4 years, 3-4 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And then I kind of just kept in contact by using Stepmania and Tuhu song packs. But other than that, and just one day I happened to come across the local mall here, happened to see their DDR Supernova last June. No, the June before last June. And rekindled my interest.
You've been playing again since?
Pretty much. First is like just went up, suffering, could barely get past through Dynamite Rave Expert without sweating bucket loads, and then now I'm like aiding Paranoia Revolution.
Oh, awesome. Well, welcome back. You're very
Glad to be
cool.
back.
Hey, Cats, do you play DDR?
I think my first introduction with it was I used to go to a YMCA after school, and we had a soft pad there on an Xbox. I don't remember what version. This was around like 2006, 2007 at the latest. But yeah, I don't play much DDR, but I remember I played it there. But I had already been playing Guitar Hero, like the first one, I think. So it wasn't my introduction to rhythm games, but I've always known what DDR is. So
What was your first introduction to music games? Just curious.
I think it might have been Guitar Hero, but I grew up playing Flash games, so I probably played what was that Guitar Hero-esque Flash game?
Oh my god, I played it. It was one that had like the side.
It was
like a-
side-scrolling. Yeah.
Oh my god, I played it too, and I forgot what it was called.
Yeah, I remember playing that a lot though. Yeah, but then I didn't pick up rhythm games again until around 2015. So
Cool. All right, Detrain. Detrain.
All right, this is my first time on a podcast. I'm using my phone
Everybody
because I
say
don't.
hi to a Train.
Hi, Trey.
Moshi Moshi.
Hello.
Moshi Moshi cat dog test.
I should, and not to throw you under the bus. Well, not to throw you under the train. Train is probably the youngest member of the Georgia Music Gamers podcast, or just the channel in general. But he's actually really cool. He's got the soul of like an old head because he's like really into like computers and technology, and he likes trains. Obviously, like Densha to go. So just to put him into context, he's got the soul of an old man, even though he's very, very young. So go ahead, Train.
All right, so my first experience with DDR was Athens Online. So Kevin Turner, he had brought a Stepmania setup, and he set up the cab to have Stepmania.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked if I could play, and the first song I played was Happy.
Oh, really? Okay.
But then I discovered, oh, there's Mario Mix on here. So that's what I played for most of that night. That was a Saturday. And then I saw...
How long ago was that?
I think May 2017.
He brought a cab somewhere to Athens, or
Well, no. So Athens Online, there was this amusement company that lended them the cab for the weekend.
Okay.
And thankfully, I wasn't good enough to realize that cab was terrible.
But you ended up playing a bunch of Stepmania mixes, in other words.
Yeah.
And you enjoyed that, I'm assuming.
Yeah. And then I think what mainly made me fall in love with DDR was I saw Kevin play Burning Heat. And that song was great.
Cool.
And so...
Would you say that it was Gradius?
That was the best.
Yes.
Well, awesome.
And then the next day was extreme. It was an extreme cab. So I got to play all the originals on there, and that was nice. One thing I like is playing rhythm games I don't know the song list to, so I play songs like I don't know and find a lot of new ones.
That's like the main draw of a lot of well, of course, if you don't play the same songs all the time. But yes, I think most normal people like to find stuff they haven't heard before.
Don't be like me and never scroll above the extreme folder.
Feel free to explore.
That kind of drew me into 2DX because I'm like, wow, the song lists. Wow.
Yeah, I know, song
good
lists,
music.
the song choices, things you can play other than the same songs all the time.
Screw you. I'll play the songs I like.
Listen, Cats and I are going to play House Nation like 800 times a day. There's
Yeah,
nothing
that's
you
what I
can do.
used to do. I used to play House Nation.
That's a good song.
Yeah, it's a good song, but when you've got thousands of other songs.
No,
just saying.
That's a good song.
Well, I'm glad that Train has his head on his shoulders.
Another funny story is I was like scouring the internet to find places to find machines. The first place I found was DDR Freak in 2017.
Wait, what? Say that again? You found DDR Freak in 2017?
Yeah. So the first...
Okay. Explain, please.
Yeah, so the first location I went to, I was at my grandma's in Virginia. There was this mall. They got rid of their cab like maybe 2 months before I went there. So that sucked. Then I tried this one place in Greenville because we stopped there because it's a long drive back from Virginia.
Okay.
I was looking for a DDR Supernova. They didn't have it. But then, since Dave & Buster's was close to that, wherever I was, we went over there and they had a pump machine. And that's the first time I played pump.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you for sharing, Train. I when you said that, I had to go to the ddrfreak.com website just to look up like the machine locations list, and it's crazy because none of these locations exist anymore. Let me switch over to the web pages. Yeah, like
Oh God, dude, that feels terrible.
it's just like I mean,
Fayetteville.
some of these are still here, but the majority of them aren't there anymore.
It's how I found Showtime Bowl, and that's like maybe 10 minutes from my house.
Yeah, we this used to be like the Bible, like the phone book for us for music games back in the day. I'm so sad that none of the Augusta locations are on there anymore because yeah, we lost a lot of it. Although I think we still have our putt putt in Martinez, so that's nice. But
Wait a second. It says there's an ITG cab within 20 minutes of me. Let me see if that's still there. If it is, it's in the ghetto, but if it's still there, I'm making a trip.
as most of these places are, yeah. All right, well, cool, man. Thanks for sharing, Train.
I realized that there's a DDR surprisingly close to me. I should probably visit it.
Well, I mean, these lists are 10 years old now, almost 9 years old.
Yeah, but the arcade in question I'm talking about is something that the Florida Discord people have talked about.
What's it called? Mecca would know what it is.
Arcade Odyssey.
Have you been
I
there, Mecca?
think it's in the area of, but there's also Dave and Buster's in terms of.
Yeah. It's if you go to DMB nowadays, you pretty much guaranteed to find a DDR Ace. I think most of them got Ace, if not all of them.
No, not South Florida.
Like some of them,
LA.
it's like you either have an Ace or you have a Pump NX or something, or some Pump version.
Orlando's about the only DMV that's got an Ace.
I see. Okay.
Tampa, I believe, got a Pump Prime 2.
Well,
on the topic of the DDR Freak outdated list, though, it's funny. I checked it out. Apparently, it says there's a DDR Supernova in Renegade Sports in Linham. That is 9 years out of date.
yeah, exactly. Basically, for those who don't know, DDR Freak essentially froze, like they froze and locked all the topics circa 2011, I guess, just because whoever was running it decided they didn't want to keep running it. So like you can still go and search through all the old topics, at least the ones that are left. But yeah, it's it's like a nice what's that word? A time capsule.
This Renegade Sports Center, that got bought out and turned into a Fusion Recreation. I can confirm there's no DDR Supernova.
Very cool. All right, Isaac, are you still drugged up?
No, I'm here.
Do you want to tell us your favorite DDR story?
Yeah, I mean, I'll talk about how I discovered the game. Back in I was like 5 years old at the time. Back in like 2001-ish, I guess. I was watching with my parents Tech TV's Extended Play. If anyone remembers that, it became X Play. It was hosted by Adam Sessler and Kate Patello, and they did a segment where they went to an arcade and they saw the video was on YouTube, and I saw the video and it was like DDR USA had just come out or something.
Interesting.
And at the time, being someone who loved arcade games, but mostly I played a bunch of racing games in arcades. I had never seen a game like DDR, and I thought it looked awesome. And when it came out in 2002, I got a soft mat and Konamics. And from what I remember,
Konamics was one of like the best home versions for the US.
Looking back at the song list, it was amazing. At the time, I pretty much only played higher on basic. That was it. That's all I remember. I think I played it like 20 times, and that's all I remember of playing Konamics. But it was fun. But what was weird was I'd never got the PS2 games. Konamics was the only one that I played for a really, really long time. I didn't really rediscover DDR until after I got a US KOC for 2DX, last year and found out that there's like a new DDR game and it's online and it's in America. And that one I haven't played that much because I don't really get to go down to Nashville often play it. But it's great. That's basically my story. That's it. It's not very exciting.
But you're sticking to it, and that's what matters.
I'm sticking to it. I think it's. I don't know if anyone remembers extended play here.
Yeah, I think most of us remember X-Play because they ruined Beatmania for America.
Oh, actually, that's how I discovered 2DX. That was how. Okay, so interesting. Can I go on a little side note for just a quick minute?
You get 1 minute.
All right, that was how I discovered 2DX, and I saw that review and I was like, no, that looks fucking wrong. That game looks really cool. And I looked it up and I saw like arcade 2DX videos like 2006, 2007. It must have been around Distorted. Saying like
So you saw through Adam Sessler's lies.
I saw through the bullshit. I was like, no, this game looks really cool. And then I saw like May and V and all those really hard songs that at the time were still kind of near the top. And I was like, this game looks awesome. Too bad I'll never play it.
Fun fact: to find that photo of Adam Sessler, I typed in Brian Sessler in Google because I couldn't remember the guy's first name. Oh Jesus! Yes, thank you for actually sticking around and trying it.
That's the story.
Because these guys were idiots. There was a lot of controversy, to say the least, about that whole review. Most people who know about it
They called it the Guitar Hero ripoff.
Yeah, it was really bad.
Yeah, Guitar Hero ripoff? What?
I mean, it was awful.
I've seen the review. I just am really confused, mainly because the gameplay's pretty different.
Oh yeah, no kidding.
Guitar Hero 1 had just come out by the time Beatmania US came out.
Yeah, it's just like these guys completely uninformed review, and it was just an excuse for them to dress up, and I don't know, it was stupid. I hated it, as most people did at the time. Anyway, thanks Isaac. That was cool, man.
No problem.
Kaiden said his phone is messed up or something, so he's not going to join us. Well, he's still here, but he's not going to chime in. So we shall go to the guy that we know as Mecha. Mecha guy, please tell me your mic is working.
Kind of busy at the moment, but I'll get back to you.
Oh my God, Mecha, why do you do this to me? I gave you the coolest intro and everything.
I appreciate it, but I'll take a rain check on that.
Oh jeez. All right, Raven, you're always great.
Yay. So
I can rely on you, Raven.
The first time I ever played DDR was probably on the PS2. I think it was DDR Max 2. A friend of mine had. I personally had an Xbox, but they had a PS2 and a few other games that we've never even heard of. But DDR was one of them, and he had a couple of dance mats, and we always thought it was fun as hell. But then I never really liked dancing on it, so I always played on the controller to do all the really hard songs and like the extra stages and shit. But there's just like always one song I couldn't quite beat to actually get all the things unlocked or something. I don't know.
Okay.
I barely know what I was doing half the time. But after we played that a bit, my brother eventually got into Xbox modding, and eventually we got a copy of it on our Xbox somehow.
I just wonder how that happened. It just happened.
I just remember one day just playing through all the songs, I managed to actually get a perfect score, a AAA, on one of the medium songs. I was like, oh my God, I think I actually got everything right on this one. And, yeah.
Were you playing on a soft pad?
No, we don't have it. Where I would be playing it would be causing a whole lot of noise for the downstairs, so I couldn't.
I see. So you're playing a controller, basically.
Basically on the old Duke controller.
Oh yeah, the big boy. That D-pad was impossible. Like, how did you do that?
I have no idea, but I managed. And I eventually had another friend, actually made friends down a cul-de-sac. He also had a DDR for the Xbox, but he also had 2 dance pads. And I just remember playing online against people, both on the pad and pretending I'm on pad against other people who are.
I mean, like for context, if you haven't seen the controller, like that's what it looks like.
Yeah.
Like how do you do that?
I don't know. But playing against people online saying I'm on the pad when I'm really not. But yeah. After DDR, I never really played all that much, and then Guitar Hero. So.
And the rest they say is history.
There was one time I actually met another person who really liked Guitar Hero, and it turns out he was really good at DDR as well. I don't know where he is anymore. I only know his first name, not his last. So don't know where he ever went, but he was really good at it. And I went to Malibu Grand Prix when they had the all you can play arcade and was it go karts. Well, that was a really good deal.
Yeah, that sounds like fun. Man, that's a lot of. I think most of the stories to date have all been like console ports and like home versions and stuff. I'm surprised there's not anybody who got started on the arcade machine.
Oh, I did play a cab once. It was at a this old. I'll let someone else go first. I've got another arcade anecdote.
Well, I was about to segue into the fact that Wirt. I'm hoping Wirt played on an arcade machine first because he's old. He's old enough to
first. I'll add one more thing. I did remember going to like a bowling alley once before I ever found out about DDR, and I saw a pump machine, and it had a credit on there. I was like, "Oh, let's try this out." And I started playing it. It's like, "Oh, I don't know what I'm doing. I look like an idiot," so I hopped off.
At least you tried.
A little.
Pump is the anti-hype Vince. Got him. He's speechless. All right, Wirt.
Okay.
Did you not play on an arcade machine first? Am I mistaken?
First, I don't think first. I definitely did play arcade machines when I was in like high school. We used to drive out to IBA, which was like International Bowling Alley out on Buford. They had an extreme there. I remember playing a fifth mix, I think, at North Lake Mall or somewhere around there. Or maybe it was Max. I don't know. But if I was going to talk about my first experience with DDR, it was probably the Game Boy emulator.
Okay.
Legitimately, I think that probably it's hard to really remember. It's all kind of blurred together. I definitely played Stepmania. And as I was discussing before we started recording, I played it on the arrow keys with one hand, because that's how you do it. I do remember like having get-togethers with friends to play DDR on like consoles at their houses, and how it was a big deal when one of us got like a pad with these thick foam inserts, instead of just one of those completely flat floppy mats. So it was like almost like your DDR pad was like a badge that you wore, whereas like I got the better pad, or but none of us like obviously none of us in high school were gonna buy a Cobalt Flux or anything like that. I remember in college with Disco Man, we like built a hard pad by stapling a soft mat to like plywood.
That's the poverty strat. I remember that. No, yeah, it actually does work. I've done it before.
I mean, that's the thing that people did. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it was definitely a big part of like my young to late teen years, probably on the back end, really. And it was a big like social thing, and then like outside of the current Pokemon community. This is most of my high school friends that are not serious about it at all.
Right.
So I was growing up with DDR in a time where it wasn't niche, or at least as niche as it is now. And then people that stuck with it and were serious about it kind of then developed into a community that was more focused on niche Japanese arcade rhythm games.
I got you.
And everybody else. I mean, it was kind of like the Guitar Hero fad before Guitar Hero. Like DDR blew up in America briefly around Extreme, and then people moved on. At least casuals did.
Right.
The filthy casuals.
Filthy casuals. Speaking of filthy casuals, Pump Toaster, are you ready?
Oh, can I say one more thing about
yeah, go ahead.
Arcades? Yeah. I also remember going to like Dave and Buster's and other big arcades and being disappointed when I would get there and they would have Pump and not DDR.
I mean, one of my friends did call it Great Value DDR.
So sad. So sad.
Alexa playing Debian.
Well, that's cool. Thank you for sharing.
Whoa.
All right, Toaster. Come on, man. What's going on, bro?
Hi. Okay, let's get it. First DDR was probably like high school, so let's go back about 10 years. Yeah, like 10, 11 years. So let's say I was about 15, 14. Stepped on it for the first time and said, fuck that.
But why?
Because I think the first song I ever played was, the first song I ever played was Butterfly.
That's all it takes, because that song sucks.
And the person who I was friends with was like, hey, you've never played a dance game in your life. Here, we're going to put this on hard mode for you. And I was like, look, I can't play this. And then I stopped playing DDR for like ever since then. And then DDRA came around once round one was here.
Right.
And from that point, I've been playing DDR. So I guess about like a year now.
So you've only really been playing for a year? Like really? Like, that's crazy.
Yeah. Like I've been trying to get better because I still suck, but trying is worth the effort. And plus, I guess as a side note, I guess I kind of suffer from body dysmorphia, so I don't always feel like I look great. So playing DDR and Pump kind of makes me feel like I'm losing weight.
Well, I mean, it is. It's a workout. It's a good thing too, and it's fun. That's the important part.
Yeah, that's the only thing. As long as I'm having fun, I don't care if I do bad or not.
Well, that's solid. I appreciate that. Yeah, the cool thing about DDR Ace, in my opinion, and I've said it when it first came out, is like it actually got a brand new generation of people playing again, and I've always appreciated that. Like it's cool. And so you're obviously a result of that, that revival in the game. So it's cool, man. I appreciate it.
It's time for me to get everyone into DDR now.
Oh my God. Joe, what are you doing?
First, and I'm everybody into DDR.
Nice.
The whole entire state of Georgia will be into DDR.
The DDR revolution will be led by a man called Pump Toaster.
I can't have that because everybody's gonna start coming around when I'm gonna start kicking kids. So I can't have that. I almost kicked a kid the other day.
You did not learn your lesson the first time? Seriously? So for those who don't remember, or maybe didn't catch the previous show on the horror stories, Toaster kicked a kid in the arcade.
That's
He went
the kid's
flying.
I
fault.
almost kicked another one. It was going to be great, but then their parents were around, so I couldn't kick them. Rest in peace to that black boy.
Yeah, you're gonna kick train if you're not careful.
Did
All
you
right,
see that post from that guy that trapped a kid on 2DX?
that trapped a kid.
Like, some kid crawled up on the base pad and he caught him between his legs, like while he was playing doubles.
What? No, that's weird. I don't like that. That's very awkward. All right, well, Mecca's insisting that he goes next, so I guess he's ready to go.
Yep. You can hear me?
No, I can't hear you at all.
I can hear the
No?
environment around you just fine.
All right. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah,
Yes.
I can hear you.
Okay. Well, someone can hear me, so let me jump out real quick and I'll jump back in. All right. Maybe that'll...
SMH my head. Lord. We lost him.
We lost him.
Uh-oh.
Mecca, what are you doing?
All right, there we go. There we go. Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. All right, so when I first started in DDR, it was actually by accident when I used to download a lot of Game Boy ROMs for the computer.
Hey, you sound like somebody I know.
Yep. So my first music game that I played was Beatmania for a Game Boy, and then I got hooked onto that. And so I saw a Game Boy game called Dance Dance Revolution, Game Boy, and I got hooked onto that. And mind you, this is around the time that Napster was popular. So I figured, hey, if these games exist, I can probably find the songs on Napster. And that's how I slowly started to build my music game collection, trying to figure out what song is what. And then my first time actually playing on a machine was DDR USA Mix in Islands of Adventure in Orlando.
Interesting.
Yes. And this was during a class trip in high school. And once I found out that machine was there, I stayed there for like 3 hours until we had to go back to our hometown on the bus ride. Yeah. And so on the bus ride home, since I played so long, my legs were just cramping like crazy. Because I just jumped into Maniac immediately. And that was a mistake on my part.
You were able to keep up with it?
Yeah, because I more or less knew the pattern since I played the Game Boy version a lot.
Oh, wow.
But after that, my friends were like, oh yeah, there's a DDR machine at GameWorks near our place. And we're like, all right, we'll go there. And this is like a day after that. So I was still cramping. I still went out to play more DDR. And that wasn't the smartest decision, but it definitely solidified my love for that game. And
nice.
then, yeah. And then fun thing aside, like years later, the same group that I was playing DDR with decided that we were going to go to a DDR tournament known as Tournaboom 2K2, which was in a Boomers in Dania Beach. And that's where my friends did their infamous test my best routine.
Test my best.
Yeah. And they stripped down to like these like crop top wife beaters and their white tidy whities. And they were just rubbing on each other in front of a crowd. And yeah, I'll post a link to the video later, but it was something. It was great.
Well, if you have it, if you have it handy, you should share it before the show's over so we can put it.
Yeah, I'll
in
post
the chat.
it once I mute the mic. But yeah, thank you for letting me share my origin story on DDR, I guess.
Yeah, man. Thanks.
No problem.
All right, AJ, come on, man. I want to hear your story. I know you got something really interesting to say.
Hello.
Hello.
All right. What are you asking? Which stories? I got a bunch, I think.
I want to hear all of them.
Oh.
In chronological order.
Oh no. All right. So I think I started back with DDR with when I was like 3 or 4. We had one of those bootleg plug and play DDRs that you plug into the TV. And I played that a lot. And then I remember
I completely forgot about those. Actually, I used to
yeah,
help.
they
I
were
used to help one of
bootleg,
those.
and it was like second or third mix like UI, and it had songs that wasn't even in DDR.
Right,
I
yeah.
realized a few years ago.
That's so funny. The plug and play
I
DDR
remember
mats.
playing that, and I remember I liked the music from that so much. I had a Walkman when I was younger at that time. I had a record feature. I remember like putting the Walkman up to the TV and playing DDR so I can get it on my cassette tape. But I started with that for a while. And then I also remember it was either around or before that. We had Dance Maniacs in the mall. And I remember where our family and my sister always referred to it as like, oh, it's Dance Revo for hands. And I'm just like, ooh, I like Dance Revo. So that's how I got introduced to the game. I didn't really, I mean, since I was like a kid, I didn't really know what it was other than, oh, cool game. I moved to the USA, and my sister eventually got a PS2 with Extreme 2 on it. And it's like, oh, I was like, oh, I remember this game. So I got into that and started playing through. And then I liked it a lot. And we kept buying more games slowly over the years. Like I played Extreme 2 for like 4 years.
Nice.
And then like Max 2 for like 2. And then like, I was just like, I eventually, because of that, I eventually found out about Step Mania and got into like the whole like, oh, what's DDR and the whole community through that. So that's pretty much how I got into DDR. And then I found out other rhythm games through that. Like I think 2DX was the next one. And that one I joined late, but I knew of it. I was like a fan of 2DX because I somehow got the soundtrack on the computer and I was like, ooh, the music's really good.
Nice.
Before I played any of them, I
Before
remember
you
listening
even
to
had any like frame of reference for what the game was like, basically.
I mean, I knew what it was. I knew the concept, but I never played it. I just know, oh, all these cool songs from DDR, and on the second half of the list is from this game. So like, whatever. So like, I listened through the first CD up to like 16. At like around like 2008 or whatever Empress came out. I remember just like every day I would listen to like an album just to get through everything. And I was like, wow, this is cool music. But towards around that time too, I started playing all the home games.
Right.
And that's when I really got into it. Like DDRX was my shiz. That game was the bomb. As much as people hate the announcer, I love it. Like X was the best.
Was X
At
the
that
one
time.
that did the like we're grooving and we're moving guy?
Yeah,
The X was like yeah.
That was my. I mean, he was okay, but that was just like the.
It's two guys. Remember?
Who was the other guy?
It's this. They're from this band called Ozo Motley. It's Justin and Will Dog.
Are you sure about this?
Yes, I played DDRX the other day. They actually tell you in the game who they are.
Justin and Will Dog? Okay, this is the first time I'm hearing about this.
Yeah, it's two guys. That's why there's like different variations of. If you can listen through it, there's like different variations on their voice.
Oh, okay. I mean,
then I pretty much just played at home. I remember reading the forums and being like, oh my gosh, these. I was almost gonna say a bad word. These cool people get to play the new arcade mix because it was X Arcade came out after X console. So I remember just like being like able to read like the forums, be like, oh, this came out, that came out, and I'm just like, wow, my game's old now. I remember being so jealous of the people who have arcades. And the only time through until last year or so, the only time I always played arcade was anytime I'm on vacation. And a few years ago, we used to go back home to the Philippines every like 2 or 3 years. Mm-hmm. So I remember like the only reason I was really hyped for that trip, other than like seeing family, was just like, we got to go to the mall, play Supernova 2, play this, play that. Or any other trip we gone to. I remember I went to Chicago or around that area at one point, and we found a bowling alley that actually had an unpatched Supernova.
Oh wow! Like with
I just
before the
remember-
timing patch.
Before Flow True Style, because True Style wasn't there. And I remember being so hyped to play, even though I knew it was bad. And that was also the time I found Pump because we went to Dave and Buster, and I was just like, oh, where's DDR? Oh, that's not it.
That's not your answer.
It wasn't. I still played it. I just didn't understand, and then I got somehow into like a shortcut mode or something, and it was just like notes on notes on notes, and I'm just like, what is this? So yeah,
Vince is dying over here.
This is my game. That's
it was a hot mess. I didn't like it at the time. I didn't know what it was. But pretty much until before Ace, I pretty much just played the home games as much as I can, and whenever I can go to the arcade was whenever I went to the arcade. And then pretty much Ace kind of brought me to, hey, I'm old enough to go to the arcade alone. The only reason it actually happened was just on a pure chance of like I was bored and I had the day off. The weekend it came out, because I remember I had the day off for I had 4 days in a row, and it was Saturday, and I'm just like, I'm bored. And I remember scrolling through Facebook, and people are just like, DDR Ace. And I was just like, okay, new game, whatever. I don't care. There's no new home games anymore, so I don't care. Like, I was bitter about it. I remember actually saying I hated the UI because I was just bitter.
Mm.
And then I remember it was Saturday, and I was just like, I'm not doing anything. Let's go visit this Dave and Buster place. And I visited, and I was just like, oh my gosh, this game's so good. And that's how I got into DDR now.
I'm very happy to hear that. And see, you enjoyed it, even though you didn't like it at first.
I mean, I knew I was just bitter. It's just I wouldn't say to other people why. I was just like, no, I hate it. No home games. Where's my games? Like, where's my games?
Logging
and
in on it.
And at the same time, at that point, I really liked DDR 2010's home game. It had the choreography mode. DDR 2011 or the DDR2 took that out. And then it was like I remember reading it was like, oh, it's arcade accurate. It's like X3. And I'm just like, ew, you took out my choreography mode just to be arcade accurate?
Mm.
But now, I mean, after pretty much Ace, I kind of realized, hey, I'm old enough to buy my own things. So I got into Voltex, 2DX, Guitar Fix Drum Mania, and everything else pretty much I can get my hands on.
You're basically a late bloomer is what you're saying.
In a way, because what's funny is I always knew about all the games. I just never played it. I was actually a big fan after I got into the 2DX soundtrack. I was actually a big fan of the Beat Mania soundtracks a lot.
That was kind of a thing with me too. Is I had seen extensive footage of pretty much all the Bimani games, but it took years for me to be able to play them.
Yeah, it's funny. I'll look back on my registration dates on on the forums, and it's just I've been here for a while. I just never played them till now.
AJ used to be a poser, but now he's cool.
I mean, in a way.
Well, that's interesting. That's actually a pretty interesting twist on the whole.
It's funny. It's whenever people start talking about the older stuff, it's just I remember when this was this, and I'm I remember reading about that, and I'm a fan of that, but I never played it. In a way, you're right. I am poser, but whatever.
No, but I mean, you fixed it, right? Now you're actually in there and you're actually playing it, so it's okay.
Yeah,
it's not a big deal. You're good to go.
At least you're not like me, where 2 years ago my only interaction with Bimani was I vaguely knew what pop and music and el Hoobit was.
¿Dónde está el Hoobit?
Hoobit.
Anyway, what I was gonna say was my only interaction was through Osu.
Oh, I played that too. I will not be afraid to admit it. That was a game.
I mean, yeah, but relationship over with Osu. 2DX, my new life.
All right,
I didn't like it.
Okay. This is DDR show, not OSU. All right. Well, thanks, AJ. That was very informative. I appreciate that story. It was good. It was cool. I liked it.
Oh, another side note. I just thought about it now. When I was, you know how everyone on Facebook was reflecting back on the 20 years of DDR?
Mm-hmm.
I was looking through my cloud storage of photos since I backed everything up over the years. I happened to find an old video of me playing DDR in my room, thinking I was the hot shiz, like playing like Calico Catrock and like Healing Division and getting like A's and B's on them, and I'm just like, this is so cringe. I
Wanna
can't look
share?
at this.
Well, it seems like you personally can't look at these, so I wouldn't be surprised if you didn't want to share.
I mean, I would. Yes, I have that one particular. What's funny is whenever I watch the Mikenko Catrock one, what's funny about whatever it's called on Supernova 2. What's funny about that one? If you look at my feet, I obviously did not know how to read because I didn't know how to do crossovers.
Right.
Even though the game taught you how to do crossovers. In DDRX, there was like a little guide that told you if you'd see this pattern, move your feet this way. I was just like, oh, whatever.
You just
But yeah,
you
I
just
just wanted to add
enlightened
that
me.
in
You enlightened me to a new way to pronounce this. Mikenko.
What?
That's so good.
Did I read it wrong?
Mike Neko.
Oh, I did read it wrong. I forgot the other E.
It's okay. I thought that was hilarious. Thank you, AJ. That was that was insightful. One of my oh, who's left? Who we got here? Oh, Casimir joined a little later. So did Cho. Either of you guys have stories? No?
R.I.P.
It's all good. Yeah. Was that your first game? Second game? Third game? Beatmania? The Beatmania. It's okay if you don't have anything. It's fine. All right, Vince. I want you to tell me about how you played DDR first before you played Pump.
Wow. I'm glad you asked. I want to say my first exposure to any dance game was DDR Max 1 CS for the PS2 at a close friend's house in the mid 2000s. So probably when I was like 1.
Wait, what? When you were 1 year old?
And then like you know, it was just mainly that, just going over to a friend's house and playing DDR. Got hooked into it immediately. And then, well, it was over a decade ago when I decided to go out and search for a DDR cab, and I ended up finding a pump machine instead. And of course, I fell in love with it at first sight. So thank you, DDR, for allowing me to become a pump player. Because before that, I played it was when we still had the Petrie cinemas here. The Extreme cab at the time was turned into ITG, and then there was Supernova 2, but I ended up not liking that as much. Oops, sorry, Evan. I guess I will say this, especially since more people now officially consider me as the forefront of Atlanta's entire rhythm game scene. If it weren't for DDR Ace, honestly, we wouldn't have our community that we have today.
You think so?
Yeah, I honestly think so. I mean, not only did our community like grow, it basically revived like a big part of it big time, all thanks to Ace arriving at our Dave & Buster's, 2 of them here, which are both 10 minutes away from each other, but you know, SMH, Whitecaps distribution in the US.
In the UN. The UND.
Yeah. Yeah, so basically shout outs to DDR honestly for basically saving our community. And for
I was gonna say Ace. I think again, I will say it again. I think Ace was probably the best thing to happen to DDR in a very long time.
Yeah, and I guess I also want to thank these games, rhythm games in particular, for allowing me to become a part of a community that actually made me feel as if I actually mattered as a person, as someone who really loves the social aspect coming off from these games. So
very cool.
Yeah, Ace did come to Dave & Buster before round 1 was open. So
it's true. Yeah, Ace pretty much like revived the community.
Yeah, and then when round 1 came, that helped more. But DDR played a huge role. Which leads me to one quick announcement before I pass on the torch to someone else. I am currently working on getting in another DDR tournament here at the Lawrenceville Dave & Buster's here for next year. I'm gonna shoot for the weekend of March 2nd, 2019. I'm doing this as a way for me to like actually give back to everyone for all the love and support over the years. Also, it's been a hot minute since our last DDR tournament, and I kind of miss it, so we might as well have another one. So more details about that will be coming soon, but in the meantime, wish me luck, because I'll be going over there tomorrow to hopefully secure that date.
Okay, so you don't have the date secure quite yet.
Not yet, but it is in the plans.
Okay, well when you do it, let me know so I can add it to the ticker, like the little scrolling event
Yeah, I
calendar
got
thing
you.
on the podcast. So,
Yeah.
all right, cool, man. Very neat.
Also pump.
Also pump.
I need that 17593599571. That full mode code.
That's probably what happened to or who was it that played pump by accident? Was it Raven or?
Hey, it wasn't me.
It was AJ.
Sorry, I think the actual secret code is 8675309.
Yes.
Fastest legs in the East.
No.
Yeah, I was so Cho like mentioned something in the chat, and apparently Cho was a freestyler, which talk about a dying breed of DDR player. That man,
Wow.
I wish he could tell us more about it, and maybe we'll save it for another show. But freestyle was like this ancient art of playing on a dance machine and doing a routine, and nobody does that anymore. Although I will say, I did see a video on Facebook the other day of a Japanese tournament of all things, which was crazy, and it was a freestyle tournament, and it was actually really cool. So
Yeah, that was the thing.
I think it was Sigma that posted it. I'm trying to find it, but man, like that blew my mind. I was like, wow, I haven't seen something like that in forever. So there was a time where people played DDR and did freestyles, and I think our show with Disco Man, we went over some of his freestyles way back in the day, which was really cool. Yeah.
I posted one up there.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think you posted it earlier in the chat.
Joe seems
This
like
is
a
the only
legend.
freestyle that matters, though.
Cho seems
Cho
like
is a legend.
Yeah.
Cho's older than all of us here, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, not to call him out, but he's older than me, so
He carried over the chair to me.
passed on the chair.
Therefore, I must bring it to MomoCon next year.
Yeah, and the train got his old KOC.
Yeah.
Hold on, let me see if I can.
Seems sacred.
Here it is. This is really cool. You guys need to check this out. It's awesome.
Yeah, that one was baller.
Dance Revolution. All right. Well, all that's left is other Isaac.
I bet.
Isaac, you want to do another story, or do you want to do a story? Do you have a story? I know you play a lot of DDR. You have a long history with Team McDonald's.
Team McDonald's.
And going to Peachtree Cinemas and stuff. So I'm sure you got plenty of things to say.
To condense a very short journey of me doing DDR, I think I mentioned it on the very first podcast, episode 0. I remember the Mall of Georgia used to have a van skate park, and I played, I think, 7th mix there. And then at that time, I was very active at church. So anytime we went out for like youth trips and stuff, I would always make it a point to find the closest arcade. I remember going to Destin, Florida. They had an arcade. I remember playing DDR Extreme there. Pigeon Forge has a ton of, I don't know now, but that used to be one of the big arcade places. And,
yeah. Pigeon Forge was in Tennessee, right? Or no?
I mean, not Pigeon Forge, Gatlinburg. Excuse me, Gatlinburg.
Okay, Gatlinburg.
Yeah, they used to have a lot of arcades up there. I played up there. But my main stopping ground was Van Skate Park. And then when I went to Georgia State University, I played a lot at the Underground Arcade. That's where I met this player named Chris R. And he was the one that kind of introduced me to playing with the bar. And like, that was actually where I first started getting my double A's. And then once I got better there, he told me about this place called that had Supernova, which was brand new at that time.
I'm sorry, say that again. It's this place called what?
Peachtree Cinemas.
Oh, okay.
And at that time, Supernova was brand new, so we decided to go check that out. And that's where I pretty much met all the guys that I know. as far as the old heads. Um, and then from there, like I met this guy named Robbie. I don't know what his pump alias was. He was really good at pump and 2DX, and he lived in Myrtle Beach. And he told me to visit him, and when I did, that's how I got acquainted with Justin Denning or Son Gohan X, and
Super
that's how
Gohan X.
that opened me up to that whole group of people. And then, and of course, he like at that time he had a pump machine. I don't think he had a DDR, but he lived near Broadway Louis, and that used to be like this huge bastion for like ITG and DDR at that time. Um, and then from there on out, it was just going to all the conventions, and by that time, that's when I think it was the early stages of Tokyo Attack, going to meet them, but that's more 2DX than the other rhythm games.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's probably. I mean, yeah, he had DDR, but I think at that point most
Like,
people were interested in the other games.
but yeah, Underground was probably one of the biggest influences because that was like the first tournament that I got to participate in, and then Peachtree Cinemas is that's the majority of my DDR is playing over there.
Cool, man.
But yeah, that's my DDR story.
Extremely condensed.
Very extremely condensed.
But that's okay. Yeah, man. DDR is it's an old game. I'm really old, and I played it, and the game is old. We're all just really old.
We are all now.
I probably started playing DDR when I was 14, which is how old the train is right now. And and shoot, man, like I think the very first time I actually laid my eyes on a DDR machine was potentially a fifth mix in 2001, 2002 when I was living in Washington State. And I didn't know what the game was at the time, but I saw somebody playing it, and it was I mean, I remembered. It left such an impression on me that I remembered exactly what it was, even though at the time I had no knowledge. It wasn't until later when I started playing the game that I realized what it was. This guy was playing fifth mix, and fifth mix had a long mode. Certain songs basically counted as a long version, so it counted as two songs, but the songs were slightly longer. And this guy was playing doubles, and he was playing "Be for You," the brilliant mix, like the long "Be for You" version. And this guy was playing it on heavy, on Maniac, I guess, and he just blew my freaking mind. Yeah, it's glorious style. And I'm sitting there like, we were at the mall, and I just watched this guy go nuts, and he was just like running across the pad and just doing all sorts of crazy moves, and just like it was insane. It was you might say it was glorious, and and the dude was just nuts, and it left such an impression on me. And like this guy did the coolest thing when he was done. He did the final run across the pad, and then he just like walked away from the machine because at the time, I think the arcade just like if you did the long version, it basically only allowed you to play two songs, and long versions count as two songs. This was back when the games were $1, and so he played it and then just walked off and left the arcade like the coolest guy there. He was so it was the DDR equivalent of dropping the mic. so so yeah, it was really cool. Like that left a super huge impression on me, and I was like, it left me wanting to find out more about it. I eventually moved from Washington State back to Georgia because my dad was in the military, and I posted about it on my Facebook. But just to keep it short, I would go to the mall every once in a while with my parents because they'd drop me off, and then they had a third mix there. It was a third mix Korean, and I played that, and it was very embarrassing because I didn't know what I was doing, and it was really bad. And then I found out about Stepmania online because DDR Freak, of course. I played that, and I auto played it. I didn't have a pad, and I just like ghosted it. Like, how so people would ghost steps? Did any of you guys ever do that before?
Mhm.
Like watching someone else play and then just sort of like stepping behind them. It's called shadowing. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I used to shadow like autoplay Stepmania, and so that's how I practiced until one day We used to have those plastic mats. It's like a floor mat for your chair, for your rolling chair, except this one had a bunch of spiky things underneath it, like that's supposed to keep it in place in carpet. And I was shadowing, and then I like hit my foot underneath the mat somehow and like scratched the top of my foot, and so I was out. I was out of commission because I wasn't wearing socks or anything. I was out of commission for a while, and I decided, you know what, if I'm going to learn this game, I'm going to actually play it instead of trying to kill myself. So yeah, I eventually learned it, played the game a lot more, met a lot of friends. It was good times, lots of fun. And yeah, like I met most of you guys, like most of my old friends, because of music games, and DDR was like the very first game that did that. I used to play a lot of DDR. Like I used to play DDR more than anything else, obviously. But then once I got wind of other games, I started playing those instead. And nowadays I play 2DX. We've talked about BM98. Everybody's talking about it in the chat right now with autoplay. But yeah, it's just, I don't know. I'm just really appreciative of DDR and what Konami did. This interesting game that kind of weird, kind of strange, super big, really interesting, and a lot of people played it. So I think
I'm
it's
just
pretty
saying,
cool.
you look a lot less dumb. You look a lot less dumb playing BN98 than you look playing DDR.
Step Mania.
Stirp Mania.
Let's everybody say hi to Disco Man. He decided to come in at the end of the show.
Hello.
Hi, Disco.
Hello.
Look.
So a couple of things I need to announce real quick. Konami's going nuts. Earlier in the show, you might have seen the chat. There's probably going to be a new pop in music. It looks like it got announced, or it got teased. Let's not say it got announced. There's a new pop in music thing that got teased, and apparently there's a new game now that is meant to replace Reflect Beat cabinets. It's Konami's attempt at Tunithm.
Where'd you hear that?
I posted an image of it earlier.
Oh.
It's your second attempt at Tunithm?
And it's called Reminiscence.
Oh, I thought that was old.
No.
Wait, does Nostalgia count as an attempt at Tunithm? Vaguely?
No, yeah. Well, actually, yeah, probably. But yeah, that's replacing Reflect Beat cabinets. It's interesting, I guess. I mean, I don't know if I'll play it.
Ward, I want you to say that like in front of Trek the next time you meet him in person.
I'll say it right to his face.
So yeah, well, you saw what Spange posted earlier. Spange. That's the poppin'. So yeah, we're like way overdue for a new poppin'. We're also way overdue for a new DDR, frankly. But we gotta get our rocks off with this new event.
Yeah, man, I'm still waiting for my DDR Extreme 3.
But yeah, this is the new. Do you still have that Photoshop of the DDR Extreme 3? You know what I'm talking about?
It's probably somewhere.
Somebody made what looked like a pretty convincing Extreme 3 logo.
Yeah.
Which had it looked like a glacier. I don't know, it was kind of weird looking.
Has anybody translated the poster, or do these not get translated, or what? Sorry.
It just got posted today, so you tell me.
Well, I don't know how long.
Like an hour ago.
Yeah, it was really recent.
So no, probably not.
I can do it.
All right, well, Disco, I need you to do it.
I'm not actually going to do it. I'm translating right now for money.
$5.
It says Rhythm ni notes te hikari o ayatsure, which means to gather notes and rhythm, or to gather notes and light into rhythm.
Cool.
There you go.
They're mid-location test right now.
Someone still have the Oceanmania 4 Heavenly Haven image.
That's gross. All right, well, you know what time it is. Once we start posting memes in here, it's time to go. So.
Oh, it's time to post memes?
Yeah, it's meme time. So thank you guys
Okay.
for sharing all your stories. I love you all. Keep playing DDR for another 20 years. And I really appreciate you all. So without further ado, I'm switching away from this. This is gross. All right, guys. Thank you. Everybody say goodbye.
No. Yeah.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Arrivederci.